Hi, welcome to my channel, Zen and Fit. If this is your first time checking out my platform, I discuss various topics that range from health and wellness to mental health, as well as lifestyle topics. So if this sounds interesting to you at all, if you could please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button, and also share my videos with anyone you know of that may be into this type of content. So in today's video, I'm actually trying out a new series where I'm going to be talking about various actresses or celebrities from past or present. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing Dorothy Dandridge, the life she lived, the trials and tribulations, and how it could have possibly affected her mental health. Of course, this video is in no way am I intending to diagnose Dorothy Dandridge. That's not my intention whatsoever. It's just more so exploring her life. So, Dorothy Jean Dandridge, which is her official name, was born on November 9th, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio. Her parents were Cyril Dandridge and Ruby Dandridge. And Dorothy Dandridge actually had an older sibling who was, her name was Vivian Dandridge. I believe they were like a year apart. I believe Vivian was born in like 1921. But by the time Dorothy Dandridge was born, her parents actually separated. So following the parent separation, Dorothy and her older sister Vivian lived with their mother, Ruby. And since Ruby was really into the entertainment business, she even had an acting career herself, she ended up putting her daughters in a lot of performances. And eventually the two daughters ended up forming like a trio group later on in life. But while Dorothy was growing up with her mother was in a relationship with a woman. And this woman was actually abusive towards, especially Dorothy Dandridge. I remember in the movie Introducing Dorothy Dandridge, there's a scene where this woman sexually assaults Dorothy Dandridge. And that was supposed to be actually true fact, that's what actually occurred within that household, which is, of course, so unfortunate and sad for Dorothy. And you can only imagine what she went through emotionally, having to endure that type of abuse, and also physical abuse by her mother's lover. So even at an early age, before she even left the house, she was already subjected to abuse. And then going into the entertainment industry, which is, we all know or have heard, it can be really cutthroat. So you can only imagine or speculate, as Dorothy Dandridge was becoming an adult and entering into the entertainment industry, doing her singing and acting career, she hadn't fully possibly healed from her past traumatic experiences of what she endured from her mother's lover. And then imagine you're going into an extremely cutthroat industry where, people don't care nothing about you. I mean, that's everywhere in society, but I think sometimes it can be even more amplified in the entertainment industry, and especially when you're a Black actress during those times. Dorothy Dandridge had to deal with a lot during her lifetime, not only navigating the entertainment industry as a Black actress, which was extremely hard during her era, but she also had to deal with a lot of struggles personally when it came to her marriages. Dorothy Dandridge's first marriage was to Harold Nicholas. He was a famous tap dancer during his time. He was part of the Nicholas Brothers group, or I should say the duo. And that marriage lasted about 9 or so years. And during that relationship, it seems like Dorothy Dandridge gave a lot to that marriage. And you can only imagine it was disappointing when it ended in divorce. She had her one and only child by her first husband, which was Harold Nicholas. Her daughter's name was Carolyn Nicholas. And even in that relationship, it seems like she was let down a lot by her husband, Harold, especially when it came to her giving birth to their first child, and only child, I should say, as a couple. According to reports out there, Dorothy Dandridge ended up delaying giving birth to her daughter, Carolyn, because she was waiting for Harold to come back home. I believe Harold was out golfing or he was doing some extracurricular activity and wasn't at home with his wife. And because of this delay, Dorothy Dandridge blamed herself for the significant developmental delays that her daughter had after being born. And that always stayed with her. So you can imagine the remaining years of Dorothy Dandridge's life having this guilt, shame, self-blame that this is my fault for why my child has medical issues could be just completely overwhelming. So not only are you adding her history of what she went through as a child in her home life, but then you have her being an adult, being a mother, and looking at her child every day and feeling guilt and shame that she's to blame for why her daughter has these delays. So by 1951, Harold and Dorothy Dandridge were no longer together, and they were divorced. And eventually, Harold Nicholas ended up remarrying somebody else, and Dorothy Dandridge was left there to look after Harold and Nicholas. So during this time period following the divorce, Dorothy Dandridge was, of course, grinding in Hollywood, securing whatever jobs that she could to not only support herself, but she also had a child to think about and look after. And because Carolyn had medical issues, Dorothy Dandridge had to pay someone to be a caretaker to her daughter when she was working. One of the most famous movies that Dorothy Dandridge is known for is Carmen Jones. And her performance in Carmen Jones did not go unnoticed because she would go on to be nominated for her leading role in Carmen Jones in the 1955 Oscars. And even though she didn't win the award, that was still pivotal in her career because she was the first Black American actress to be nominated for a lead. The sad part about this is that just 10 years after being nominated for this award, Dorothy Dandridge would be deceased due to supposedly a drug overdose. Of course, there's been a lot of speculation with that through the years, but officially, Dorothy Dandridge died of an overdose. But leading up to that point, there was other events that took place before her death, that preceded her death. One of those was when she married her second husband in 1959. His name was Jack Dennison. And this guy would pretty much leave Dorothy Dandridge broke. He would leave her penniless. And as a result, this led to Dorothy Dandridge having to make the difficult decision in placing her daughter in a mental institution because Dorothy Dandridge could no longer afford to pay caretakers to look after her daughter. And so that was the most unfortunate event because of this second marriage and what this man did in taking all of her last assets that she had. And so Dorothy Dandridge never forgave herself for having to put her daughter in a mental institution. And you can only imagine, especially in the 1950s, 1960s, mental institutions didn't have really good reputations for how they treated people. And so knowing that Carolyn, especially being a Black child, is in a facility like this, you only hope that she was treated right. You know, of course, I don't know that. I have looked at records to try to find, information about Carolyn, and it's very difficult to find really any records on Carolyn. There's some reports that Carolyn passed away in 2003. I don't know how accurate that is. So it's just sad all the way around. And if Carolyn has actually passed away, I think one of the saddest parts about this entire situation is that she doesn't appear to be buried with her mother, Dorothy Dandridge, because Dorothy Dandridge was cremated and her ashes are interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale. But when I look online, I don't see Carolyn's name near Dorothy Dandridge's. So if Carolyn is no longer living, who knows where, she's buried or where her remains are. One thing is for sure is that Dorothy Dandridge loved her daughter, even based on reports from other people who knew Dorothy Dandridge. She did everything she could to support her daughter, and I think the ultimate stressor for her was when she had to place her daughter in that mental institution. That was just, I think that broke her heart. And you can only imagine how that impacted Dorothy Dandridge's mental health, having to deal with that, because she was already dealing with shame and guilt for supposedly being responsible for why her daughter had developmental delays. And then to top it all off, that she can no longer financially support her daughter, that she has to put her in an institution. That probably was really troubling for Dorothy Dandridge and was a significant stressor, I imagine, in her life. So just looking back at Dorothy Dandridge's life, she had a very difficult life while she was on Earth. And even though she lived a short life because she died at a fairly young age, she accomplished a lot in her career, but she dealt with so much turmoil in her life when it came to her personal life, especially, and also having to deal with racism and microaggressions in Hollywood. So, very difficult life, a very sad story overall. She was a beautiful woman, beautiful actress, but she had a lot of personal issues. Mental health is very important. It's just as vital as our physical health. And that's for all of us when we're dealing with so many different stressors in life. It can definitely take a toll on you. And so you can only imagine what Dorothy Dandridge was going through towards the end of her life, having to deal with so many different unresolved issues. So I look forward to reading any comments you have regarding this video. If you want me to do additional videos like this in the future, please let me know in the comments section. I will definitely read them. And until next time, please take care, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.